All right, good. All right, we ready to go? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Our Lady of Lourdes. Thank you for joining us via live stream tonight. We have a very special program to offer you this evening, which combines elements of Advent and winter and even a little bit of Christmas. I want to introduce myself first. It's a proper thing to do. I'm Jacob Benda. I'm the Director of Sacred Music and Liturgy at Our Lady of Lourdes. And we've been having this concert series, Soiree Musicale at Lourdes, for a little over a year now, and it's been a wonderful journey. We've been able to share a lot of different music with our parish and beyond. I want to thank Father Daniel Griffith, our pastor, for his continued support. He is a pastor who recognizes the importance of beauty in our lives and in our faith, and he's not afraid to support sacred music to that end. And I also want to thank Josh Zenner and Sarah Moon for live streaming this and for all the past concerts that we've done. It's been quite a journey the past 9 months. I think we've all grown a lot and learned new things, including myself. And I just want to thank them for going the extra mile and providing, different angles, improving the audio quality. It's just been fantastic. And then lastly, but not least, I want to thank the musicians, our wonderful chamber choir. I want to call them up by name before we begin. Katie Ward, our soprano, she's up in the balcony right now. We have Alyssa Bainline, Rachel Vermers-Kierken, Scott Cinco, Nathan Cicero, and Steve Hodulik. They're all grade A musicians and singers, and they've just been a pleasure to work with. And then we have the dynamic sister duos, I like to call them, Tony Andrews and Angel Andrews on the flute and violin, respectively. I have a list here because I often forget things in the introduction, and then I remember it later on and never say it. So I just have a few more things to talk about. Housekeeping items, the program. So if you're watching from home, you can go on the Lourdes Live website, and on the left side of the screen, you will see Worship Aid's programs, and you can download the program. Just click on the title, Soiree Musicale program. And within the program, you're going to find the program itself, the text of everything that's sung is included, and the bios of all the artists, so you can read about them and learn about the musicians. And then finally, on the last page, you'll learn about how to text to give, which I've often failed to talk about during these concerts, but it's paramount to these events actually happening. So I encourage you, if you can, to support sacred music at Lourdes. We can continue to offer events such as this on a consistent basis. Now the program, let's get to the music now a little bit. I think that takes care of the housekeeping items. So as I mentioned, the elements of this program that steered decisions behind what to program are Advent, the season of winter, and then Christmas. And I mentioned Christmas. Typically during Advent, I don't usually program Christmas music, but I find that during this time especially, we need comfort music in a sense. So you're going to hear a lot of music that you recognize. You're going to hear some music you don't, but both equally beautiful. Now the first piece that you're going to hear is O Come, Emmanuel. And beginning tonight during Vespers, a verse of this antiphon, it's known as the O antiphons, is chanted alongside the Magnificat. And each day the verse changes leading up to Christmas Eve. And it just so happens tonight's the first night that this is actually used in the Liturgy of the Hours. This arrangement is fascinating because it utilizes a small choir, but also a soprano solo who sings into the stratosphere, as you're gonna hear. And Katie is placed up in the balcony, and the choir is placed down below. So you're gonna experience some different sound sensations there. And you're gonna hear a version of this text which is rarely heard. And the text is by, for lack of a better word, an Anglican theologian, and his name, Thomas Alexander Lacey, as you can see in the program. He, just a short aside, he had the view that the Church of England should reunite with Rome. And I just thought that fascinating and appropriate that we use this text this evening. Finally, we move on to the remainder of that first section. So the first section, we have O Come, O Come, Emmanuel, the Vivaldi Concerto, Srink's Northern Lights, and finally Savior of the Nations Come. I group these pieces together because it's going to be a journey of Advent and the winter season. I'm going to speak about each of these pieces a little bit, just to give you some context, and then you're going to hear it all as a whole. The concerto, I found this really fascinating. Vivaldi actually included some text with the music. And the first movement, he offered some words that I think we can all relate to, relating to the season of winter. And he, quote, uses, "Pierced by cruel winds, teeth chatter in the cold." So you're going to hear Vivaldi's explanation of that in the music. In the second movement, he has, quote, "We are content by the fireside. Outside it is raining, but let's pretend it's snowing," okay? Then the final movement, the Allegro, he has a series of statements that I think we can all relate to. He starts with, "We carefully walk on the ice. We are afraid we may fall. We slip and fall. We get up and bravely try again." Whether that's in the music or not, that's left to be determined by you, the listener. After the Winter Concerto, you're going to hear a beautiful piece by Claude Debussy, a French Impressionist composer, played by Tony Andrews on the flute. And this, to me, just paints sort of a mystical winter picture. Followed by Northern Lights by Ola Yelo, an upcoming choral composer. And this text is based off of the Song of Solomon. And when you read this text, he is actually imagining the northern lights. This terrible beauty, that's what he's talking about, is the northern lights. Finally, Savior of the Nations Come by a 17th, 18th century composer, which is, for me, one of my favorite hymns during the Advent season, which goes by the title, Nun kommt der Heiden Heiland, a German hymn in origin. But the text, if you follow it, just speaks beautifully of what we long for, and that is, we ask, Savior of the Nations, come. Well, there ends section 1, Advent and Winter. You can see how we came from O come, Emmanuel, to come, Savior of the nations. And it ended in a very, very positive note. The next section, we have 3 pieces which I'm identifying as our Marian section. We don't see a typical Ave Maria, but we see a theme of a rose. There is no rose and the rose. The first piece by Richard Roche. Richard Roche is a local composer based in St. Paul. And we've actually had his wife, Allison Young, to play flute for our masses. But Richard, from what I've learned from him so far, is a great guy, excellent musician, and he happens to love disc golf, which I do too. Any disc golf fans, musicians? Yeah, we have a few. So this first piece is just absolutely beautiful. It for me, conjures up a sort of a lullaby, and it's really easy to follow as the listener. And you'll see we have a mixture of English and Latin, and I've indicated what the Latin means so that it corresponds to what you hear. And that is followed by The Rose by Oliello, and this is accompanied by the piano, and it begins almost like a winter wind in a sense, and then the choir enters. And here, Mary is partially identified, but more through nature. You're going to just through the text, it's more whimsical. Whereas in There Is No Rose, there is no rose of such virtue, talking about the birth of Jesus coming from this rose from Mary. And then to cap this section, we have a favorite of the season, O Holy Night. And while I was typing up the text for this program, I started thinking, O Holy Night, this could be considered an Advent piece potentially. Advent we think of as being perhaps a long night leading up to Christmas, and what are we waiting for? We're waiting for Christ, the light. Christ doesn't come in the light, he is the light. He comes in the darkness, and I think that this piece illustrates that beautifully. So here we are with the second section of the program. Well, our choir gets a little bit of a break now, well deserved. The next set of pieces from a Russian composer, Tchaikovsky. I would probably, if I was a betting man, I'd say 100% of you have heard at least one of these pieces that we're about to play. This is very joyful, very playful music. We're not doing the whole ballet. We'd be here for a few more hours, so we're just going to play some excerpts for you tonight. And we're going to close with a really charming arrangement of Still, 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 which is an Austrian carol. And we've adapted the accompaniment a little bit. It calls for piano, but Angel and Tony are bravely taking on the accompaniment themselves. And it features our choir one more time to close the concert. And, you know, we began the concert with "O Come, Come Emmanuel," you know, "Come Jesus," and this piece ends, the concert ends with "Still, Still, Still." You know, we wait for that joyful day to come. So thank you all very much for being here tonight via live stream. Thank you to our splendid musicians, and I wish you all, on behalf of the parish and Father Griffith, a Merry Christmas and a happy rest of Advent before then. Thank you again. Very proud of these musicians, if I can't say that enough. We collaborate in a very interesting way. There's not a said conductor conducting all the different elements, and I won't just do this with everybody. I told them in rehearsal I trust them. They're very trustworthy musicians, and they deliver every time. So thank you again. And our next Soiree Musicale will be in February. I can say this. It's going to be likely a guitar duo, a classical guitar. They're from Bosnia, just fantastic musicians. If they're watching, I'm sorry I mentioned it. I said I wouldn't, but got to keep you wanting more, right? So thank you all for being here this evening. Have a wonderful Advent and a blessed Christmas.